Hi, my name is Jodie Goodman, and I'm a prevention specialist in the Office of Equity. I'm here to give you an introduction to the Office of Equity. We'll talk about what work we do on campus and who works in the office to get that done. The Office of Equity's primary responsibility is oversight and compliance related to equal opportunity laws and policies, non-discrimination laws and policies, and affirmative action requirements. There are four main components to how we achieve our oversight and compliance responsibilities. First, supportive measures are available to individuals who have experienced discrimination or sexual misconduct and to individuals who are named as having engaged in those behaviors. An important thing to note is that supportive measures are available to people who have experienced sexual misconduct, regardless of whether they participate in a formal investigation. So if a student or employee has experienced sexual misconduct or discrimination, they do not have to participate in a full formal investigation or even the alternative resolution process in order to be eligible right away for those supportive measures. The grievance procedure, which I mentioned in the previous point, is the investigation process that allows individuals who have experienced discrimination or sexual misconduct to seek accountability for individuals who have engaged in those behaviors. We also have education and training, which is provided to students and employees about various discrimination and sexual misconduct topics. The goals of our education and training efforts are to stop discrimination and sexual misconduct before they happen and help people to recognize when those behaviors have happened. The last component of the Office of Equity's work is to connect students to other resources both on and off campus as appropriate. To give you a look at who does some of the work behind the scenes in the Office of Equity, we have our Executive Director, Matt Pinner, who's recently come on board. Raj is our data analyst who really looks into the results of our pre- and post surveys as well as campus climate data to make sure we're being responsive to the feedback that we are soliciting from students. Jonah has recently come on board as a hearing coordinator, and they do a really excellent job making sure that that's running smoothly. Amanda keeps the world turning as our staff assistant, really fielding a lot of questions from students who are involved in our process, so you may find yourself speaking to Amanda. We're also bringing on an additional staff member as a case coordinator, so we continue to expand the office to meet the needs of students over time. The first service that I want to go into in more detail is the supportive measures services. And the reason that this is important to have an understanding of is that if a student should experience discrimination or sexual misconduct in a way that causes distress or trauma, it's really easy to forget all of the important information they've been given in orientation about the helpful services that are available. And so as a guardian or supportive person of that student, it can be really helpful to remember what supportive measures are, how to get them, and that they are available with or without participating in any of our formal processes. So just to put a face to the process, this is Katie, one of our supportive measures specialists. She works with Anna Voorhees on the Logan campus. These supportive measures specialists serve the Logan, Blanding, and statewide campuses. And there's an opening in our office currently for a supportive measures specialist specifically to serve the Eastern Price campus. Supportive measures take a lot of different forms because their ultimate purpose is to allow individuals impacted by sexual misconduct or discrimination to have continued access to educational or employment opportunities. They also address the safety and well-being of the individuals involved. So some examples of common supportive measures that are available are academic accommodations, extensions, excused absences, employment accommodations, such as excused absences or reassigned shifts, financial accommodations, such as a refund for a withdrawn course, housing or parking reassignments, or a safety accommodation, like an escort or a mutual no-contact order. And if someone has needs outside of this, we're always open to discussing further to see what we can do. And who can access supportive measures? Like I said, it's students, faculty, or staff in the USU community who have experienced sexual misconduct or discrimination, or students who are involved in a sexual misconduct or discrimination process, either as a respondent or a witness, can also receive help from our office in the form of supportive measures. And like I said, it's really crucial for you to remember for your student that supportive measures are available whether or not the individual is choosing to participate in the grievance process. So the way to request supportive measures is to contact the Office of Equity. You can do that directly through making a Title IX report. The first person you'll be paired up with is a supportive measures specialist, or you can schedule a meeting directly with the supportive measures specialist at usu.edu/equity/supportive-measures. I want to take you briefly through some information related to our grievance process. First, I want to introduce you to our Title IX coordinator, Hillary, who is our point person for addressing sexual misconduct on campus, and also the point person for the Title IX grievance procedure and supportive measures associated with that process. So if you have big picture questions about how we execute Title IX policy on campus, or you have nitty-gritty questions about the nuances of the investigation and grievance procedures, Hillary is absolutely your person, and her contact information is available on the screen and through a QR code. She leads a highly educated and very kind and competent team of investigators. Jairus, Kristen, and Steve make sure that our grievance process runs smoothly. That grievance process is the process for investigating sexual misconduct and discrimination reports. It's an administrative process, which is different than a criminal process. It's important to note that there are multiple pathways through the Office of Equity's investigation process that involves alternative resolutions, formal investigations, and university-driven investigations. I'm not going to go into detail here, but if you have questions, you can either contact Hillary or find much more information about the specifics of those procedures at equity.usu.edu. And our third service component, the closest to my heart and work, is our education and training component. This is our prevention team. Like I said, we're currently expanding to hire an additional supportive measures and prevention specialist on the Eastern campus, but our current team is led by Emily on the Logan campus, our senior prevention specialist. She leads myself and Tanisha. Tanisha is our employee-focused specialist, and I am the student-focused specialist. Kayla joins us from Blanding as the Blanding campus prevention specialist. We do a lot of work, and the four of us could not get face-to-face with every single student at the university. So we are also joined annually by a team of 6 to 8 undergraduate peer educators. This is our 2020 squad. I do like this picture. But these individuals and our annually rotating team helps us reach those incoming students to make sure that we can get that training to them live and from a peer, someone who has recently had the experience of starting college, joining the Aggie family, and can bring that perspective to our trainings and answer their questions, both from a professional and personal standpoint. Our trainings work to uphold USU's principles of community, diversity, human dignity, and social responsibility, which all work together to make a fully functioning community. We know that we have a diverse community where students have different identities and values, and it's part of human dignity to make sure that all students with all of their identities and values are included and feel welcome on our campus. And it's every single student's social responsibility to make those feelings of human dignity a reality. So who participates in trainings from the prevention team? The short answer is nearly everyone. In a little more detail, it's all full-time students are required to participate in an annual training, so it will be an annual every year requirement. There's an in-depth training their first year. For students on residential campuses, it'll happen live. There's an online training for students on the statewide campuses. And then after their first year, there is about a 30-minute online refresher course to bring them a little more detail on one of the topics they will have gone into their first year, such as consent or bystander behaviors, so that they can just keep those skills refreshed every year. There's also training for all employees, and those trainings focus specifically on responding to disclosures from students. So if a student has had an experience of sexual misconduct and they want to talk to their advisor or a club leader or a professor about that experience, that employee will have participated in a training every single year about evidence-based and empathetic ways to respond to those disclosures. There's also education for student and employee respondents. This is a really important opportunity for reaching out to students and employees who may have participated in harmful behaviors or gotten close to violating a school policy, and we're able to sit down with them and talk about why those behaviors were harmful and build skills to make a different choice in the future in those situations. We also have additional trainings by request, such as deeper dives into topics like consent, relationship violence, or retaliation behaviors, or looking into implicit bias and discrimination topics. I want to briefly go over the content in the incoming student training that is given live, either in person or via Zoom, to all incoming students on residential campuses. Often there's a well-meaning question about why this content is required, and the answer is that we believe it's universally applicable and universally beneficial to students. The content comes in 3 parts. First, we talk about healthy relationships, and not just romantic and sexual relationships, but healthy friendships, healthy relationships with coworkers or roommates. All relationships can have elements that are healthy, unhealthy, or abusive, and so recognizing those dynamics is universally beneficial. And building skills to talk about boundaries and consent is important in all types of relationships. We then, in part 2, talk about specific USU policies and procedures related to sex-based discrimination and sexual misconduct so that students can recognize if it's happening to them, and also recognize if they see harmful behaviors perpetrated by their friends or other members of their community so that they can engage part 3, bystander intervention and resources. In this part, we go through different methods of intervening in potentially harmful behavior, including calling in professional resources both on and off campus. We identify the resources that are there for your students in times of crisis, and we also go through specifically which are confidential and which have reporting requirements to the university. That was just a brief overview of all of the work that we do in the Office of Equity. So if you have questions about anything that we went over today, you can check out our website, equity.usu.edu. You can email Hillary directly with any questions at title9@usu.edu. And if you have anything for myself or the prevention team, you can email us directly at prevention@usu.edu. Thank you so much, and welcome to the Aggie family.